3 ways that you can be more efficient and get more done with your time.
Hey, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe.
What's up, y'all? Welcome to How to Mondays on Gratified Grad, where it's my goal to help you graduate with gratification. So, this first tip is probably, well, I won't say one is more important than the other, but I think that this one is pretty important, and that being honoring your time. And so when I say honoring your time, I mean actually doing things when you say you're going to do them and making sure that you respect yourself and the fact that you set this time aside for you. So, what I often have happen to me and hear of other graduate students happening to them is that they'll get into a work groove and, someone in the lab or someone will walk by and try to talk to them, which completely disrupts their flow and they lose their thought process or the train of thought or wherever they were in their work. And then now it takes time to get back in that working mode and get back in that working process for them to get back to that in the zone feeling that they once had before they were interrupted. And so, in you honoring your time in those moments when you've decided, okay, in this period of time, I'm going to work on writing this manuscript. You have to be able to say when someone comes up to you and they say, hey, do you have a moment to talk? You shouldn't feel afraid to say, not right now. I'm working on something, but I will be free at noon. And then you have whatever conversation with the person at noon. Now, can you always say that to someone? No. Sometimes someone has a really quick question or they really need you to do something that only you can do. And so those circumstances, you kind of need to stop what you're doing and handle that. But when it's just general conversation, you can stop, tell the person, I need this time to handle this thing, and then I can talk to you a little later. And don't feel bad about it, right? Like that is you honoring your time. And the second thing being time blocking. Time blocking has been an amazing tool that I've started to use. And so when I first tried to, hone in on my productivity skills and just making sure that I'm getting stuff done, I used to try to fill every single second of the day with something to do. And it just seemed more tiresome than getting like the productivity. I mean, yes, I was being productive. Yes, I was getting things done, but I was also just feeling really drained and just tired and overworked at the end of it all. And so now I time block, and which time blocking helps me pace myself as well as just make sure that I'm being productive and maintaining my energy throughout the day so that by the end of the day when I'm going home, I still have energy to do other things at home. Like I don't just want to go home and go to bed because I put all of my energy and time into the day. And so what this looks like, and I really do model this in my quad routine video. I'll put the link to that right there. But yeah, so basically it's you set however long block of time that works for you. For me, a 2-hour block of time is good. I know that I can like actually focus and work for 2 hours, and then I'll need a break like literally right after that 2 hours. But I time block and I have specific tasks that I want to complete in these 2-hour time blocks. Now, the tasks that you put within this time block should be things that will fill up a good hour and 45 minutes of that time. So don't just, give yourself something that could traditionally take you 15 minutes, because it's also this known rule of thumb is anything will take any amount of time that you give it. So if you know something shouldn't take you that long, like normally 15-20 minutes, don't schedule it within that time, because otherwise that's just you've turned a 15-minute task into a 2-hour task, in which that's not being efficient with your time. And finally, add in preparation time and travel time, right? So I think this is the number one thing that gets most people when they're, making their schedules, planning, getting ready, stuff like that, is that they don't think about the time that it takes to get ready or to commute. So, especially as graduate students, because, we tend to work up until the last minute and then run to our next meeting. Like, I know all the meetings that we have, like, people literally show up 1 minute before the meeting is supposed to start, or maybe even, like, let's say it's a 12 o'clock meeting, people will show up at 11:59, or they'll show up at 12 o'clock, which depending on the culture, right? So now I know that a lot of groups that I interact with, we used to try to start at 12 o'clock if it was a 12 o'clock meeting, but we've now just said that we'll start at 12:05, which will give people, 5 minutes to get in the room, get settled, so that the presentation can get started. So what this looks like, for example, let's say you have a meeting with your advisor at 1 o'clock. At 12:45, you should be prepared or preparing and being ready to be in your advisor's office at 1 o'clock. So that means, pulling out, whatever, whether or not you're coming back to lab, pulling out any papers or documents that you want to show, so that when 1 o'clock comes, you're in that office and you're also mentally in the state of, okay, I'm about to walk into my advisor's office. I want to talk about this, 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 and this. We're good. Or that would be an example of transitioning. Let's say you have to walk to go to a seminar that is, maybe a 5-minute walk, right? You don't want to, and the seminar starts at noon, you don't want to get up at 11:55 to walk to the seminar that starts at noon if it's going to take you 5 minutes to get there, right? You have to think about this, and that it takes you 5 minutes to get there, but then once you get there, you have to get into the room, and if they have refreshments, you're going to want to pick up some refreshments, and then you have to get into your seat, and then you have to get settled into your seat. So I would say, if you have a noon seminar, leave at 11:45, and then make sure that whenever you're planning things preceding this seminar, you take into account that, okay, whatever I'm doing before I go to the seminar, it has to be done by 11:45. So to recap on the 3 things that I just said: 1, honor your time; 2, time block; and 3, incorporate travel time or preparation time before you transition into your next to-do or your next thing to do. Hopefully, I provided you with some more tools that you can add to your toolbox that will help you graduate with gratification.